Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you a game called Heroes of the Shire. Some of you may have heard it already because there is already a standalone game already out there. This is a new installment. It's a completely standalone. It's not an expansion, which builds on the well-designed system and transforms the success of the first installment into a new upcoming series with the Light and Shadow. Or series or installment. It's a standalone game essentially. The game is about a turn-based gameplay where you are heroes, inspired from the location of the designer, by the way. This is really something to highlight, and all this fantasy world that is built, it's around their hometown. It's a game that takes players as heroes. They cast spells. They do turn-based combat, and they dive into either an arena mode or a scenario mode with two different options. One for a quick combat style game where you're trying to take down your opponent by casting spells and using the core mechanics of the game from combat, or you go into a cooperative full-fledged, full-flavor option of the scenario mode where you do exploration, you do tactical combat, so you explore things, you have choices, you encounter monsters and trash mobs and bosses, and then you zoom in into a tactical hex representation of the board where you do in-close combat, following the same logic and the same strategy. So the scenario mode is, I would say, a more full experience because it keeps the advantages and the gameplay and all the well-designed stuff from the arena mode and builds around it a very, very complete and a very, very, I would say, full experience, which has all of what you would expect from a big style game. It has exploration, it has the moving, it has the tactical combat which goes and happens when you zoom in from the different locations. It has story, it has very, very nice and symmetric heroes that they are completely different from one another, and I really enjoyed how in one case you are just a mercenary with brute force and you're just trying to do a lot of damage, and you obviously cast spells as well, and in the other case you're just a shadow knight, which you do more spells, or you are a light mage where you can also transform into your angelic form and have additional abilities there. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to tell you more about my personal opinion, my personal experience, because I haven't played the first installment of Heroes of the Shire. This is my first experience with the game. I'm going to tell you more about it at the end of this video. Throughout the next portion of this video, I'm going to guide you through the basic concepts of the game. I'm going to show you how the arena mode works for fast quick combats, and then I'm going to focus more on the scenario mode and show you how this also works. So join me at the table. You can find the link in the description of the video where you find more about the crowdfunding campaign page, and follow the campaign to get to know more information about the game. Join me at the table. I'll show you how the game plays, and then we'll meet back up at the end of this video for more first impressions from my experience with Heroes of the Shire, which were already very, very positive. Heroes of the Shire is a turn-based combat game where players cast spells, use abilities, and learn combos to defeat their enemies. There are 20 characters, 12 bosses, and over 800 spells and abilities. Therefore, no two games will ever be the same. There are essentially two game modes in order for us to try and enjoy Heroes of the Shire Light and Shadow. These are the arena mode and the scenario mode. So let's take a closer look on each of those modes, but before doing so, let me briefly describe what each means, if you haven't heard before Heroes of the Shire. In the scenario mode, you defeat each of the 3 bosses throughout themed scenarios and grow your hero along the way. Scenario mode is played as a campaign, includes solo mode, and there is several aspects in it, like exploration, tactical combat on a combat map, and exploring different tiles and progressing along the way. Each scenario offers around 3 to 5 hours of playtime with a save game mode, and when playing a campaign, the same hero will be played across several games until all scenarios have been defeated and a maximum level is reached. Players will retire their hero after completing all scenarios. In the arena mode, you are trying constantly to reduce an opponent's health point to 0. The victory conditions are dependent on the mode. So for the scenario mode, for the heroes, you need to defeat each boss throughout the themed scenarios. And for the villain player, if you're playing with a villain player, you need to defeat the party of heroes, forcing them back into the first hex. In the arena mode, you need to reduce an opponent's health to 0 or below. Regardless of the selected game mode, each game is played over a series of rounds, with the goal being to reduce your enemy's health points to 0 or below. In each round, all players take their turn in order, and once all players have taken their turn, the round is over. A turn is a fixed sequence of phases, which we'll have a closer look just now. But before doing so let's take a closer list on, let's list actually the 6 heroes that we're going to find in Light and Shadow. This would be the Beastmaster, Clairvoyant, Hydromancer, Light Mage, Mercenary, and Shadow Knight. The last two, Mercenary and Shadow Knight, will be used as you see them below the box of the prototype, the cover lead of the prototype. They're going to be used through several explanations and also as a partial start from the tutorial, just to get you into understanding the basics if you haven't heard anything about the game. There are 4 additional heroes that will be added as an add-on through the Gamefound campaign, and you can find out more when you follow the link in the description of the video, which will be the Enchantress, the Mad Scientist, the Necromancer, and the Swashbuckler. So, going back into the format of the gameplay. So, let's see the sequence of phases and upkeep described in the core of the way that Heroes of the Shire plays. First of all, we have the turn order. Each round starts by determining turn order. The hero with the highest agility, which is abbreviated as AGI on different stats, starts a round first. The AGI value of each hero can be found on their board. AGI values can be changed in real time, adjusting the turn order from round to round, and if there is a tie for the same AGI, agility that is, a die roll is required, and the winner will of the die roll decides if they go before or after an opponent. Just to give you a bit of overview, let's say for the Mercenary, we have the hero envelopes. Okay, we'll go through the heroes later in the course of this video, but you can see here, for example, the stats, and one of the stats they have is the agility. For this example, Mercenary has an agility of 6. So if another hero has an agility of, I don't know, 5, that means that the Mercenary would go first in turn order. Again, crucial part of Heroes of the Shire is that the agility is changed in real time, meaning through the course of the rounds. That means you will have to anticipate both playing before or after your opponent, and that will have also an impact based on the tactics on your choices, etc. So generally speaking, you want to be with higher agility. Then we have the upkeeps and the upkeep phases. Once the turn order has been worked out, each player proceeds through the following upkeep phases. First, we have the token upkeep, where all temporary buffs and conditions are moved down one column to the left. I'll show you in a minute how this works. Then we have the dice upkeep. All cooldown dice, or abbreviated as CD, are reduced by a value of 1 unless otherwise stated, and when a cooldown value reaches 0, that means that the die is removed from the player board and the spell can be cast again, and it's ready for use. And third is the hero upkeep. If a hero has an ability that triggers during the hero upkeep phase, those effects are now resolved. Alternatively, a hero ability will give specific instructions on the hero ability box when or how they can be used. Then we have the main phase. During the main phase, players choose a spell to cast from their player board, ability cards, or their spell mastery, which is typically on the right of their main board. A valid target must be selected, and once a spell and its targets have been chosen, that player must announce the name of the spell and its effect to all players. We'll see how spells work in a sec. The fifth and last phase is the end phase. Spells or abilities that trigger during the end phase trigger at this stage. Turn order tokens are flipped over to show that the player has taken their turn, and the turn is passed to the next player on the turn order card. So I'm going to use a portion of the tutorial to show you a couple of rounds on the arena mode first before proceeding to the scenario mode. Okay, so we'll start with the basics of the arena mode, which is the one mode recommended if you never played Heroes of the Shire before, because it covers the basics of combat before diving into the slightly more engaged and I could say also additionally more interesting scenario mode, where you also have the exploration, the boss battler, the tactical battle map, the different scenarios, the combat maps, and so on. So let's proceed. Before doing anything else, let's have a word on health points. When a player's health points have been reduced to 0 or below, they have been defeated. This is also true for pets, allies, trash mobs, and bosses. In arena mode, if a player's HP is reduced to 0 or below, simultaneously, the battle finishes in a draw. Players can gain health points above their health point stat. The shield, which has this token, when a player receives a shield, they place a die on their shield token to represent the value granted. This value activates their shield, and all characters can receive a shield value. Whilst a player has an active shield, a die on it, all incoming damage must be deducted from the shield before their HP health points are reduced. This also includes damage, abbreviated as DMG, for abilities and conditions. And defending. All targeted players defend against incoming damage by deducting their defense stat from the attack value. For example, if a player is dealt 9 damage with a defense stat of 5, they would only receive 4 damage. After defending the attack, 9 minus 5 will result in 4. Some spells will deal undefendable damage, which means the defending player can't defend against the attack. But we'll see all this later. So, before going into the first steps of the tutorial, which I think it's a fantastic way to learn the game, I'm just going to show you a couple of options on the setup of the arena mode and the scenario mode, just to give you a bit of idea. Just focus on the scheme so that you can see, for example, that here we have quickly the arena mode, which has all the explanation how you set up the game as the arena mode, and here is the scenario mode, where it shows how you set up the game in the scenario mode. The obvious difference is beside the character, the spell mastery, you have also equipment board, you have the exploration map tiles, okay? You have bosses that you fight, you have different things that they make part of the evolving scenario, which results in defeating bosses and requires several occasions of combat before reaching a conclusion. But you can also have a quick arena mode, which is teaching everybody the essence of the combat mechanics, and gives you, which you do a lot in the scenario as well, and gives you a great quick mode to play versus. Okay, so also the rulebook does a great job on showing the hero board, the anatomy of the hero board, the spell mastery, everything is explained, and then it goes into the details of the rules, which we're going to try to give you a bit of summary here without giving too many information, because of course that's not the purpose of this video. This is just to give you a general feeling of how the game plays, more specifically also to the Light and Shadow standalone box. So before doing anything else, let's start with familiarizing with our heroes. Again, this is the scenario mode, okay? So there is no combat maps used, no combat used, combat maps used in this scenario, in this mode, sorry. We just have our heroes with their main board, the spell mastery, we have the quick reference of the specific hero, we have the turn order card or turnover board, how you ever call it, with the agility, which is the initiative, who goes first, and the same goes for the second hero. In this tutorial I'm going to use the mercenary versus the Shadow Knight, as it is also really explained in the quick start guide, which is a fantastic guide which really helps everybody to get into the arena mode. As you can see, it takes around 60 minutes, or a scenario mode which takes 2 hours or more. Okay, so there is a quick guide, very well written, and I have to give credit to the designer Damian Senior and the editor Beth Darlington for putting it together, because I think it does a fantastic job to help get right into action and understand the game. Also, it's recommended to start first from the arena mode. Now, the first thing that you would do is we have the hero selection. Okay, for this tutorial, in this arena mode, we're selecting, as I said, the mercenary versus the Shadow Knight over here. We'll see their board, the Shadow Knight board, more in a sec. I'm just showing you a closer look on the mercenary for the moment. We take obviously the envelope, and there is one envelope with for all the heroes, which has the components, but also at the bottom, but also it has printed, the background. Mercenary is 51 years old, gender male, character type around damage, armor class heavy, no elemental type, complexity easy, and here the hero stats: strength, intellect, agility, defense, and health points. Okay, health points, you see 45, which means you're going to use either the dice to place here a die at 4 and die at 5, so that you can reduce it when you take damage. Or I think this is a stretch goal or an add-on, I'm not sure, it was included in the prototype. You have to follow the campaign, where you have this very also convenient health dials, where you track health. I think this is far more easier than the dice, but the dice also work well. So there are, as I said, the Beastmaster, the Clairvoyant, the Hydromancer, the Light Mage, the Mercenary, the Shadow Knight, and the Raven Goddess to choose from. Okay, I'm not going to focus more on this, just to give you a bit of quick description of each of the hero before moving to our tutorial. The Beastmaster summons mighty rhinos to trample foes beneath an unstoppable stampede. The Clairvoyant gazes into the unseen, predicting and interrupting enemy attacks before the strike. Very different in playstyle. The Hydromancer conjures a loyal water elemental, a shifting force of nature, at their command. The Light Mage ascends into an angelic form, and this is very interesting. The scenario tutorial is using the Light Mage because it has also the angelic form, which you can take, and radiating divine energy form, the healing and retribution aspect. The Mercenary, which we have here, yields a colossal greatsword. It's this greatsword that gives a lot of flexibility and attack, cutting through enemies with ruthless efficiency. The Shadow Knight, which is also used for this tutorial, cloaked in darkness, their shadow skin allows them to resist negative conditions. And then we have the Raven Goddess. It's one of the Gamefound exclusive. It's a harbinger of balance and sacrifice, blending nature's fury with blood magic. So, Mercenary versus Shadow Knight. So the first thing that we do is we take from each envelope, again, both for the Mercenary and the Shadow Knight, we take the envelopes out, and for the tutorial of the arena mode we're going to be using the hero board, which is this part, their spell mastery, which is this part, which we put on the right side of the hero board. Okay, we're going to have a quick reference guide, which has very important and useful information for the specific hero. Okay, and you can find it on the pages of the reference. I'm just setting it aside for the moment. You're also going to take out of the envelope, specifically for the Mercenary, the Great Sword ability card. The Great Sword is the one that I showed you before. That's specific to the Mercenary. You're going to take the hero ability tokens, the combat tokens, okay, and the turn order token, which is this one here. And it has a side with an X indicating when you have taken your turn, okay. The Shadow Knight will take similarly the hero board, the spell mastery, the quick reference, and the turn order token. All the rest of the components are not going to be used. They're left in the envelopes, so you don't need to take them out, just to show you, for example, the equipment board. Okay, you're not going to be using it. It's used in the scenario mode. Okay, so you leave everything else back into the envelope. Then, placing your hero components. Each player should repeat these steps. First, you take the hero board and place it directly in front of you with the playing side face up. The hero board contains the hero stats, spells, and resource tracking areas. You place your spell mastery board to the right of the board. This is where you unlock additional spells that you're going to be using throughout the battle, before the battle begins. So for the arena mode, you will take 5 cubes and you're going to unlock 5 spells. For the tutorial, it's recommended to go with the specific spells you see unlocked where you have placed yellow cubes. Okay, so this is the spells you're going to be using. But in a normal arena mode, you know, not as part of the tutorial demonstration, you just select any spells you want from your spell mastery. You set the quick reference sheet next to you, nearby, and then you're putting your temporarily putting your turn order token above your player board. Okay, it's going to end up on the turn order based on the agility. So we have the placing your dice bag components. This you'll probably need to set them up at the beginning when you unbox the game, and then you'll have them ready. In them you'll find several things from the dice bag. Just to mention, you'll find the two green D10 die, which you're going to use for your health dial, meaning setting one for 4 and one for 5. That makes for 45. If I take a damage and I lose of 1 from 45, I'm going to drop to 44. Okay, and this is how you track your health with the 2 green die. I personally, myself, found it much easier to use the health dial, so I will always go for the health dial. If you ask me, it's much more easy, and I'm used to health dials, but you know, whatever takes everybody. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to leave the level up token in the bag. We're not going to be using it. Okay, so just leave it in your bag, no need to take it out. But you're going to take out these dice, which you're going to use for the cooldown effect. So when you cast a die, you see this, the fearful spell has a cooldown of 4, means you're going to cast it, then you're going to put, you're going to first put the number 4 there, which is a cooldown die, and then you're going to cast it. Okay, so the cooldown die is going to be reduced each of your turns, and with additional steps based on abilities, like for example the Shadow Veil ability of the Shadow Knight. Okay. And once it's out, then it's available for you to use again. That means when you start in the arena mode, Mercenary can use all of their spells because they have no cooldown die on them, which is a delay mechanism essentially for the spell to become charged ready again. Okay. Right, so you don't need the standee. I just put it there for visual purposes. This is only used when you're playing the scenario mode. You put it on a standee base and then you move it on the hexes of the scenario, based on the scenario you're playing. Okay, but I will see that later. So no need for the arena mode. And for this case, we'll have a 45 health, starting health for the Mercenary, and a 44 health for the Shadow Knight, again as indicated on their stats. Okay, very, very easy. Follow the guide on the stats from the envelopes. Then, specifically for the Shadow Knight, let me show you. This hero has a pre-battle effect, which is also enabled, activated when revived. Okay, simply, and this you just follow for the Shadow Knight because it's the one who has a pre-battle effect. Mercenary does not have a pre-battle effect. It instructs us to place a d6 to the spell Exploit the Shadows, totaling a value of 8. Obviously, you cannot do it with a single die. You'll put one d6 with value of 6 plus another with a value of 2 for a total of 8. Okay, this is a very powerful spell. That's why it starts with a cooldown of 8. The original value of the cooldown of the Exploit the Shadows is cooldown 6. Okay, but for the start, the pre-battle, you start with a total value of 8, and you're going to be taking it down each of your turns, plus even more so. I will see about that later. Okay, so this is a pre-battle effect. Again, Mercenary has no pre-battle. We find also the shield token. It's this one, and we place it above our health, whether it's the die, the green dice, or the health dial. Then, unlocking new spells and abilities. So let's see how this works. Since we're on the Shadow Knight, let's move a bit to the right for the spell mastery and see what is will be unlocked as per tutorial. We will take the power cubes, the wood and yellow cubes, and place them beside the spell mastery. In the arena mode, each player starts with 5 power cubes to spend freely on upgrading the hero in their spell mastery board. For the tutorial, it's recommended to go with specifically the Dark Embrace for the Shadow Knight, the Ghost Walk spell, Vanishing Strike, the Shadow Step, and the Cloak of Shadows. Okay, and that's why we put a yellow cube on each of those in the respective spot. Spells without a cube next to them are considered inactive and cannot be used. Okay, and you unlock a spell by placing a cube on the spell. Respectively, for the Mercenary, we start with Assault Formation, Inner Strength, Rally Strength, Expose Assault, and Equip Greatsword. Setting the turn order. The turn order determines when each player will take their turn in combat. So we place the turn order card somewhere visible to all players. This card will track the sequence of turns during the combat. And we locate the turn order tokens that we set aside above our hero board earlier. And we place it face up on the turn order card in the appropriate row. The turn order is determined by the agility, the AGI stat. The hero with the highest AGI value goes first. You will see your chosen hero stat on the right of your artwork. That means if you go on your hero portrait, for example for the Mercenary, you'll see that their AGI, their agility is 6, for example. And they would go here. The AGI, the agility stat of the Shadow Knight is also 6. So when this happens, is we have a die roll for a d6, and the one who wins the die roll goes on the left side, starting first. So in this scenario, let's assume that the Shadow Knight won the die roll, so he goes left, on the very left spot, followed by the second player tying for the 6th level agility. Okay, so Shadow Knight will go first, and then Mercenary will play. We locate the buffs and conditions token tray, and we place it within reach of both players, because we're going to be using tokens from there. We also take a gameplay reference nearby, which is very, very helpful, with useful information summarized, okay, for quick access. And the gates of the arena open, revealing 2 warriors poised for battle. The Shadow Knight steps forward, his armor blending with the encroaching darkness, his blade whispering promise of unseen strikes. Across from him, the Mercenary cracks his knuckles, eyes locked on his foe, with the steady resolve of a warrior who has fought for gold, glory, and survival. The crowd roars as the suns beneath them shift. Only one will stand victorious. Steel will clash, spells will ignite, and the battle for dominance is about to begin. So, ready for the arena. Round 1. We start with Shadow Knight because he has 6 agility and he's left on the row. That means he goes first. Each round the turn card determines the sequence of play. In this tutorial, the Shadow Knight was placed first on the turn order card during setup, so we take the first turn with the Shadow Knight. First, we have the token upkeep. At the start of the Shadow Knight's turn, we begin with the token upkeep. Since there are no tokens on the hero board yet, this step is skipped. Then we proceed with dice upkeep. During the dice upkeep, the active player checks all of the cooldown dice on their spells. We reduce the value of each cooldown die by 1, and if a cooldown die reaches 0, it's removed from the spell. Once a spell has no cooldown die on it, it becomes ready to be cast again. As we know, the Shadow Knight has a cooldown die on the spell Exploit the Shadows here, with a value of 8. This cooldown die should now be reduced by a value of 1. To apply this, we move the 2 from 2 to 1 for a total of 8 minus 1, 7. Okay? And this we will do on each cooldown die they would have on their board at this step. Then we have the hero upkeep. In this phase, players check their hero ability, which is located under their health point die. Okay? The Shadow Knight has two hero abilities. It has the Shadow Veil, which is a pre-battle effect, which is highlighted in yellow. This ability was already resolved during setup. It placed, if you remember, a cooldown die there on the Exploit the Shadows because it's a powerful spell. It also grants a passive effect. Whenever the Shadow Knight casts a shadow elemental spell, they may reduce the cooldown die of Exploit the Shadows by 1, specifically only this cooldown die. Okay? And it has it here, elemental spell. You may reduce the cooldown die of your Exploit the Shadow spell by a value of 1 whenever you cast this type of elemental spells. Okay, not Knight's Umbra, but for example, Ebon Shield or Shadowfall. The second ability here on the box, it's the Shadow Skin, which is covered here. Triggered passive ability. The effect: after casting a Shadow Elemental spell, the Shadow Knight may take an additional token upkeep. This extra token upkeep allows the Shadow Knight player to choose which buffs and conditions move down a column. Since this is triggered passively as an ability, there is nothing to resolve right now. With hero upkeep complete, we move to the main phase for Shadow Knight. For their main phase, during the main phase, players cast spells and take actions to defeat their opponents. Okay, so we start with the casting. Let's cast support spell, Shadowfall, by announcing it to our opponent. The Shadow Knight places a cooldown die with a value of 5 on the Shadowfall spell. You know it's a cooldown die with a value of 5 because it says CD 5. Okay? So we're going to place the die there, meaning that we'll need to reduce it to 0 so that we'll be able to cast it in the future again. I'm talking about the Shadowfall spell. Okay? And the Shadowfall spell is a shadow elemental spell with this purple dot here. So we place the cooldown die, which initiates a cast action, which triggers the Shadow Knight Shadow Veil ability, which is here. It has a passive elemental spell ability. That means that because we casted such a type of spell, okay, the Shadow Knight's the Exploit the Shadow spell is also going down one cool die value, and then they go from 7 to 6. So we remove the die 1 out of the box. So again, now it's 6. This was additionally reduced due to this type of spell, due to the Shadow Veil ability. Okay. So value of 5 for the Shadowfall. The Shadowfall is a spell that, as any spell, that as a next step we need to announce the targets. After casting spells, players must announce their targets, if any, and Shadowfall allows the Shadow Knight to target up to 3 different enemies, represented by the 3 red stick figure icons. You see them here. Okay. In this case, we only have the mercenary player in play, which will be one of the targets. Okay. But it could go all the way up to 3 targets. Then we apply the spell effects. The Shadowfall spell applies the following effects to each targeted enemy. -1 defense for 3 turns and exposed condition for 2 turns. And this is summarized in the text here. I don't know if it's too small the text to read it, but you know, for me, where I sit, maybe the camera is a bit further away, it's very easy to read, you know, from my eyes on the table. I can easily read it. It's -1 defense for 3 turns plus an exposed condition for 2 turns. It's written all here. Okay. How this translates? We place a -1 buff token on their hero board. The token is placed on the defense row to indicate the stat reduction, okay, on our target. So we'll have to move now to the board of our target, which is the mercenary. So now we're here where our target is. We place the -1 buff token on the hero board of the mercenary. The token is placed on the defense row, which is the indicated stat, the spell affected, which is this row here, next to the defense. Okay. And the next important thing is that it is placed in the temporary buff column. We have, you see, permanent buffs, as indicated by the title, and temporary buffs, as indicated by the title. We're not going to place it in the permanent, we're going to place it in the, so not here, we're going to place it in this section, the temporary buff, because it's a temporary. It will go out after 3 turns, obviously. And in addition to that, we're going to place it on the column which has 3. So this is for 3 turns, this is for 2 turns, and this is for 1 turn. So you can see that with a small number 1, 2, and 3 here. And the same goes for the permanent buff. The same does not go for the permanent buff because it doesn't apply. This is a permanent buff, so you don't have a 1, 2, 3 here. But here for the temporary, because it's up to 3 turns that you can take a buff, you place it on the far right side column, which is the 3rd one. So this is a 3. Here is the 2, and here is 1. Because obviously the spell said -1 defense for 3 turns. Then we place the exposed token on their hero board, and this is this token, which is a status token. They're exposed, okay, which again, if you want to find out what all these tokens do, you just simply have to go to the very nice handy reference, and you can see exposed, target player receives 50% more damage. Okay, that's what this status does. In contradiction with the buffs, the conditions are here, and you can either have permanent or temporary conditions. They are in this, they are placed in this row, the conditions row, and because it's going to last 2 turns, we're placing it here for number 2 in a similar way. Okay, so the Shadow Knight player has completed their main phase now, after casting their spell, and they move to their end phase. During their end phase, we first check the spell mastery on the right of their board here for any triggers, but since there are none for this tutorial, no actions are required. Next, Shadow Knight flips over their token to the red X side. This provides a clear visual cue to all players that the Shadow Knight's turn is complete for this round. And next, we check the turn order card to determine who goes next. In this case, we just have Mercenary, who is going to be the next hero in turn order. So now play shifts to the Mercenary turn, beginning their token upkeep phase. So Mercenary. At the start of the Mercenary's turn, we begin with the token upkeep, which involves moving all temporary tokens 1 column to the left to track the remaining duration. Since the Shadow Knight applied debuffs to the Mercenary during their turn, we have tokens to adjust. We move the -1 defense buff from the 3 turn column to the 2 turn column, meaning here in the 2 column. In a similar fashion, we move the exposed condition from the 2 turn column to the 1 turn column. Okay, This ensures all temporary effects are correctly tracked before proceeding to the next phase. The next phase is the dice upkeep phase, where players reduce their values of any cooldown dice that they have on their spells. Which in this case, if for example there was a cooldown die, they would just reduce it, as we've seen before, by 1. Okay, and they would do that for all their cooldown dice. Since mercenaries just starting, they haven't cast any spells, they have no cooldown dice on any of their spells, so this does not apply at this specific step. Okay. Then we move to the hero upkeep. In this phase, players check their hero ability here, similarly like in the same way we've done for the Shadow Knight. The hero ability for the mercenary is described here. The mercenary hero ability, Annihilate, allows them to use combat tokens to enhance their attacks. Remember, they have these combat tokens. Let me show you. These are these tokens here that they go on these spots. So I'm reading the ability. Annihilate, during your first hero upkeep, place 1 combat token on each of the circles below this ability. Okay. Whenever you cast an attack spell during your main phase, you may discard 1 combat token to gain its listed benefit until the end of the turn. The effects of each combat token are detailed below. First, the triangle damage you deal, can't be prevented. The green square, you gain HP equal to the damage dealt, and the circle, the red circle, damage you deal is undefendable. Can be used in trash mob battles. Okay, so specifically the Annihilate allows your mercenary, whenever they cast a spell, they can discard the combat token to trigger its specific effect. These effects vary depending on the type of combat token used. Okay, since Annihilate is passive ability with no immediate action required, the mercenary would normally proceed to their main phase. However, during setup, the mercenary unlock the ability Equip Greatsword on their spell mastery board, the bottom ability. Okay. So adding the Greatsword to the ability tab, you locate the Greatsword ability card, which is this one, which was placed near the board during setup. You place a card to the left of the hero board, adjacent to the gold border. So like that, it clicks here, it slots. This area is called the ability tab, where cards are placed when instructed by spells or abilities. And then we move to resolving the Greatsword passive ability. The Greatsword has a passive ability found in the text box at the center of the card. This ability grants all allies a semi-permanent +1 strength while the Greatsword is equipped. To apply this effect, you take a +1 buff from the token tray and place it on the strength row of the mercenary hero board, and unlike the temporary buffs applied by the Shadow Knight spell, this buff is semi-permanent, so it's placed on the SP column, short for semi-permanent, and the SP column is the 3rd column on the permanent buffs section on the hero board, which is specifically designated for semi-permanent buffs. Therefore, we're going to place it here. Next, SP, it has SP here, and then you place it here on the permanent, semi-permanent buffs. Okay. This placement clearly indicates to all players that the mercenary now has a +1 strength at all times. With the Equip Greatsword resolved, the mercenary now moves into their main phase, ready to strike. The main phase. During the main phase, players cast spells, as you know, and take actions to defeat their opponents. First, we have the casting. Since we have increased strength from our Greatsword, we'll cast the Commanding Strike by announcing it to our opponent. The mercenary places a cooldown die with a value of 6 on the spell, as indicated on the with the CD6 value in the bottom right of the spell box. So this is going to be the Commanding Strike, and we're going to take a die, turn it to the value 6 and place it here to apply the Commanding Strike. Okay, we move to the applying spell effects. Before doing so, we announce our targets. After casting the spell, the player must announce the targets, if any. Commanding Strike arrows has 3 red sticks, meaning they can be applied to 3 enemies. In this case, only Shadow Knight is available, so he will be the one who takes the hit as a single target. We apply the spell effects. Some spells have a plus icon, which typically means their effects are resolved in 2 steps. Everything before the plus resolves first, everything after the plus resolves second. In this case, you can see that it says 4 damage plus you may cast your veteran's command spell, resetting its cooldown die. Just give you a closer look. So whenever we have a plus, we first do the portion on the left of the plus, and then we follow with the portion on the right of the plus. Okay, so let's start with the portion on the left of the plus, which is resolving the commanding strike before the plus, which says the commanding strike spell deals 4 damage to our opponent before we proceed with the rest of the effects. However, we notice the abbreviation plus strength on the top right side of the spell box. This indicates that if there is a strength attack modifier, this must be added with the mercenary strength stat to this attack. That means we have 4 damage plus the modifier, which is +1, for a total of 5 plus 6, 11. Let me rephrase it. The correct way is you take the 4 damage and you add the strength with any modifiers, which will be 6 plus 1, 7. So 7 strength plus 4, 11 total damage. The Shadow Knight has the opportunity to defend versus the 11 damage attack from the mercenary, and they would do so by using their defense value. There are no modifiers, so it's just 5. Okay, so they're defending with a defense of 5 against the 11 total damage. That means that they will end up getting a total of 11 minus 5, 6 damage. The Shadow Knight now reduces the health P die located on the top left corner from the 44 value to the 38. Okay, that means you need to switch those from 44 to 38. Or if you are using a health dial, you're just going to adjust it much more easily, which I do prefer, to be honest, any given time. And now we move to the portion which is on the right side of the plus, which says that we can resolve the cast our veteran's command spell, resetting its cooldown die. Since veteran command does not have a cooldown die yet, there's nothing to reset, so we can ignore this part. But if it had, we would reset it, meaning what exactly it says. So for the rest of the part, we will follow the same steps like with any other spell. So let's move a bit to the left to see the veteran's command. So we announce again to the players that we are casting the veteran's command die with a cooldown of 2. We announce the targets. The veteran command allows the mercenary to target up to 3 allies, represented by the 3 green sticks. Okay, since mercenary player is the only one in play from the ally party, they're going to be battling alone, so we place the value 2 on the cooldown slot of the spell, and we resolve the spell effects, which grant +1 strength for 3 turns and +1 agility for 3 turns. To apply these buffs, we place a +1 buff on the strength row and another one on the +1 on the agility row. Within these rows, the token should be positioned on the far right column, which represents a 3 turns step. This visually indicates that these buffs will remain active for the next 3 rounds. And that would mean that we have +1 strength and +1 agility. Okay? With this stage, now we need to adjust the turn order because we had a +1 on the agility. So we move back to the turn order card. We move the mercenary token to the 7 row tier to indicate that they have 7 agility. And with these steps complete, the spell now it's fully resolved, and the mercenary moves its end phase stronger and faster for the next turns. The end phase, during the mercenary's end phase, we first check the spell mastery board for any triggers on the right side of the board, none for this tutorial like before. So the next thing is that the mercenary flips their turn order token, revealing a red X. Since all players now have a red X on their turn order, these are again flipped so that they are available for the round 2 to initiate. In this round 2, the mercenary is going to start first, followed by the Shadow Knight. Now you've seen a full round in the tutorial mode. There are 3 more rounds for a total of 4 rounds covered in the tutorial, and this gives you a very nice understanding of how spells work, how conditions work, how turns work. Now you get the basics of the attack mechanism. Again, the gameplay reference does a great job to indicate all the different conditions, spell icons, combat upkeep phases, summarized, and then you have all the conditions here. Okay, you can easily get stunned, you can sleep, you can get poisoned, you can be paralyzed, you can be frozen, and everything is explained here. And as you can understand, all of these conditions are the effect of various spells and various attack opportunities. Now, of course, you can continue playing the tutorial to see how it works, but I think everybody gets now the basics of this. So by the end of the arena tutorial, at this point, there is a lot of things that a player would have learned. For example, you would have learned how to do the basic setup quickly, to place a spell mastery board adjacent to your main hero board, to empty the dice bag and separate the components, to set your HP at according to your hero stats, to keep any ability cards and cooldown die off to the side unless instructed when you cast your spells. Then you understand the turn order card, how turn order works and the sequences, which is real time as well when they are applied. Then you have the upkeep phases. So you have the token upkeep where you shift temporary buffs and conditions to track good durations. You have the dice upkeep where you reduce values of all cooldown dice on spells. You have the hero upkeep where you check for hero specific abilities and passive effects. You have the main phase where you cast spells obviously and you perform actions. This is the juice of the combat of the action of the game. And then you have the end phase where you flip turn order tokens and trigger end of turn conditions. You see how casting spell works, how you also handle split spells. You cast both halves, starting with the first half and then with the follow half. And then you also you see how you calculate damage. You take the base spell damage increased by any attack modifiers such as plus strength, and then opponents may defend using their defense stat unless their damage is undefendable. Percentage bonuses are calculated after defense is applied. So with that, you get a very good understanding of the arena mode and the basic core concept of casting spells and working with your heroes. So I'm going to show you the rulebook of the Heroes of the Shire, okay, since the Light and Shadow rulebook is still under construction, but it has the core concepts, okay, so you can identify. The reason for that is I want to focus more on the scenario tutorial, but I just want to show you a bit on the anatomy of everything so that you get a feeling. We have the hero selection. Here you see, as I said, the arena mode setup and the scenario mode setup, which is explained. The hero board, which has the anatomy of the hero board. For example, you have here the elemental type, okay? You have here the armor class of the hero stats we've seen before. You have the hero level, okay? And we know we started with 5 cubes and we focused on one path, but you will be leveling up, and it's just that it's recommended to be skipped in the arena mode, and you'll be gaining more yellow cubes to unlock more spells from the spell mastery as you progress, which is actually explained here, how you level up and how you choose your path. Again, it's recommended when you play the game for the first time to just focus on one path, okay? And then as you get more acquainted with the game, you can mix and match and do different things, okay? but it's in a way, so the game gives you a bit of direction. If you want to be Crusader, for example, Mercenary Crusader, you can focus on this path. If you want to be Mercenary Lieutenant, you can focus on this path. Or if you want to be Mercenary Loyal Apprentice, you can focus on this path with the spells. But once you're experienced, you can mix and match and gain a lot of additional flexibility and depth. And here we have the hero level that I mentioned. This is how you level up. Okay, this is also explained here. We've seen the turn order card, we've seen the spell boxes, we've seen some simple spells, but there are a lot of split spells that you have. Okay, we've seen the cooldown, anatomy of everything, but you also have the spell sequencing, which is explained here in the rulebook. Okay, then we have the buffs, which we've seen how they work, and they're explained very nicely in the rulebook. Okay, equally, that will be the same for the Light and Shadow rulebook. Then we have the differentiation between permanent, semi-permanent, and temporary buffs. And simply put, the semi-permanent buff is a buff that it is permanent for the duration of the trigger that makes it permanent. That means there is a condition. If it's met, that means that you have this buff as long as the condition is met, more or less. Okay. Then you have the conditions explained that we've seen. We have various effects. We have the ability card, and we've seen the Great Sword from the Mercenary as an example of that. We have the elemental type, and we've seen the boost that the Shadow Knight was getting by using specific elemental spells, for example, when they're casting it, by reducing their cooldown die on the powerful Exploit the Shadow spell. Then we also have ability cards, pet cards, explanation on how you add the percentages and how you work with percentages. And then now you move to the scenario mode. The scenario mode is also explained there in detail. I'm not going to use all these different detailed explanations. This is from the previous standalone game. I'm going to use the tutorial scenario, to show you the basics of the tutorial, of the scenario tutorial, and then we'll wrap up this video and meet back up for my first impressions of the game. But before doing so, I just want to show you that the game has a ton of depth, a ton of replayability, so many game modes. For example, you have the ability to save your game, you have the scenario mode, cooperative mode. Okay, you have we've seen the solo scenario mode. Okay, if you're playing solo, the arena mode, the 1 versus 1 arena mode, the team suggestions, and there is also a glossary and a quick reference, and it's going to be similar for the Light and Shadow rulebook as well. But even though I don't have the final rulebook in my hands, I do have all the components from the Light and Shadow. We've seen 2 of the characters from the Light and heroes from the Light and Shadow, and now we're going to move to the solo tutorial from the Light and Shadow tutorial. So let's move to the scenario mode tutorial. In tranquil heart of the Shire, where sunlight dances across crystal streams and the hills ooze with ancient magic, a light mage heard the call of destiny. Joined by the steadfast ally, the war drummer, whose thunderous rhythms could rally even the faintest heart, the light mage sets out on a path lit by purpose. As the sun rises, so too does he resolve. This is no ordinary journey. This is a trial of light, a test of power, and a chance to yield magic like never before. You are the light mage now, and you step into her boots, channel her brilliance, and prepare to uncover the secrets that wait ahead. Your adventure begins. Let's get ready to shine. So for the setup, basically what we do is we do the hero setup, selecting and preparing our hero. For this tutorial, we're selecting the light mage that you see here, already set up, in a similar fashion like we did during the arena mode. We place all our hero components in the same way, and we take the standee and the turn order tokens. I already placed my standee here, and my turn order token at agility of 7 as indicated here, starting with that turn order. We prepare dice and tokens like we did before, in addition to the health points that we have. She has 44 health points, and these are depicted by the dice again, or the dial. Then we set up cubes and leveling. So leveling is a bit different. It's done according to the normal mode of leveling. So we start with level 1. That means you can only unlock one spell. So the tutorial demonstrates and advises that we start with the angel form path, and we unlock the angelic speed. So we place one cube there because we're level up. If you focus on the level, there is a yellow border which gives a +1. That means we have a buff that we can gain, a permanent buff, and so we add the +1, and since the light mage is a bit weak in defense, only 4, we decide according to the tutorial to place it there for an added +1 defense for a total of 5. Then the next thing that we do is we set up the respective party leader token nearby. This is this token here. If you're playing other than solo, a player has to have the party leader token, which is at the moment just given to the light mage. And then we start by accepting a quest for this specific tutorial. Again, it is demonstrated that we start with the 5 out of 10 quest, which is this one, which has a description, the objective, and the reward. Okay, and I just put it nearby. Normally we draw 2 cards, we read both, we choose one to keep, and we discard the other. Now we continue with the light scenario envelope, and let me show you the components for that they come into the respective folder envelope of the light scenario. If we were playing the shadow scenario, we would be using the scenario components from the shadow scenario. Okay, this includes bosses, mini bosses, and also the tiles which are not included in the envelope. What you see, for example, here in front of you, these are the light tiles. We also have the shadow tiles, which are a completely different set of tiles, and they're used for the shadow scenario. This is the light scenario. Then we set up the hexes, as you see, by number. So we place 1 here, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 20, 21, 22, and 23. There is a depiction of this in the rulebook. Then we take the red bag and we take the the villain dice, which are similar dice like ours, as you'll see. Okay, and they also have a shield token. Then we proceed with setting up the cards. So we have quest cards and side quest cards. We have the ally deck. We have the merchant, which is this card here, who sheds a shop with selling different things. Okay, place it nearby. Following that, we also organize the cards. We have the small cards, so we have the monster deck. Here you see the red aggressive, which are 15. Then we have the passive all the way to the right, which are 20, and then we also have the defensive, which are again 15. We shuffle each of these decks separately and place them near the trash mob deck, with the passive deck being slightly separated. Then we organize the exploration deck. This is the exploration deck here. For this scenario, we just remove cards 27 to 34. These are cards that we're going to be exploring and adding as the story unfolds. And then we shuffle the cards 1 to 26. Actually, we also specifically set some of the cards to be at the top of the deck based on the specific tutorial, so that you can draw, and execute the steps moving down the road. And then we also separate the movement decks. We have 2 40 movement cards, 1 to 20, 2 decks of 1 to 20. We just pick up one deck and the other one goes into the box. And the one that we have, we also take, this is the hero movement deck, and we add in there the specific hero movement cards, which we also shuffle together with the hero movement deck 1 to 20, and we create a separate ready to use movement deck. Okay, and then we also keep nearby the enemy movement deck. We have the loot item, we have the trash mobs, the trash mob modifiers. We also have our action cards, which these are linked with the light scenario. You see there is a light scenario art both for the trash mob deck and for the action card deck. Okay, there's a respective purple one for the shadow one. We also take the encounter of the light scenario card, which is this one. Just taking a moment if you want to pause and read it. Okay, and place it nearby. For this scenario we have an ally, which is the War Drummer, so we take it from the ally deck, we place it there, we just place a modifier stats deck stats card next to it. We take the respective standee and place it nearby. Also the War Drummer starts with a health points of 40, so we take 2 green dice and we just place the value to 40 to indicate its health. We put the scenario token tray nearby. We have also our status tokens again nearby, the buffs and the statuses. And then the next thing that we do is we do the boss setup. We locate the boss standees, which are in the light scenario envelope. Okay, here you can see also some nice acrylics, which are really good quality. If you want to take a closer look, you can go and visit the separate prototype unboxing video which I did, and it's clearly highlighting all the nice standees in more detail. Okay, so we place the assembled boss standees or the boss acrylics on the following hexes based on the scenario. Ethereal Pegasus goes on hex 9. We have Sunfire Serpent on hex 17 all the way to the top. Then we have Prism Breaker on hex 5. And we also have the Prismatic Lion on hex 7. Last but not least, we locate the scenario exit and we place it on a standee. I just place it flat, everything is flat here, just so that you can see it easier from the top eye bird's view of the camera. But normally you'll have them on standees, all of those standing like that. Same goes for the light mage, okay, which starts from the Shire tile. Then we also place 3 encounter tokens on hexes 7, 11 and 13, and this goes here, here, here in the circle slots. We prepare the movement decks for the hero deck by shuffling the 5 light mage movement cards into the 20 cards of the movement deck, forming a 25 card deck. We do similarly the enemy deck, locate the 10 card boss movement deck from the game box, and then we find 10 cards for the light scenario movement deck inside the light scenario envelope, shuffle those together and create a 20 card enemy movement deck. We place this nearby the trash mobs. Now, for the tutorial setup, there is a list of cards for each of the deck that go according to a sequence, so that you know exactly, it's like a program to what you're going to draw, so that the steps of the tutorial work together as they teach you the game. What do I mean? For example, for exploration deck here, we just locate cards 1, 5, 7, 25 and 24 and 25, and we place card 25 on top of the exploration deck, then 5, then 7, then 24 and then 1. That means that when we are going to draw a movement and exploration card, the first one is going to be number 1. Okay, and this is essentially embedded into the sequence that we're going to be using into the tutorial. Right, so after we've done everything that I described, we proceed to the start of the scenario. So let's start with this sequence. First we move and explore. We move the light mage from the Shire tile forward onto hex 1. Since this hex has not been explored yet, we flip it over, revealing what's beneath. Then we take the top card. Exploring a hex requires drawing and resolving an exploration card. We draw an exploration card, we take the top card of the exploration deck read the card effect and follow their instructions. So we take the exploration card, which is a card saying that there is a mini boss roaming. Let me show you how this looks like. And this is the card that we revealed. Okay, placing it here for the moment. The exploration card indicates that the mini boss roams. The mini boss for this scenario is the prismatic lion that is currently on hex 7. To determine its movement, a roll of the boss die is required. For this tutorial, assume that the roll result was 4, meaning the mini boss moves to hex 6. To show this, we move the lion standee to hex 6. That means from here, he moves there. Understanding the mini boss movement. The sides of the hex are numbered as follows. And you can always find this information on the back of this tile. And let me show you again up close how it looks like. It shows the direction of the movement. I would prefer that this would have been a separate tile, to be honest, because I like the art and I don't like to have. I like the art of the Shire, looking like a Shire and not like a play raid, to be honest. But that's just me. Then there is also each time a mini boss roams, it places an encounter token on the hex it moves to. So we take the encounter token from the scenario token tray and we place it on hex 6. That means we take one of those. I think it was this one. Yeah, and since he moved to hex 6, he just places one encounter token there. Then we move and explore. Since the exploration card was being resolved fully, then Light Mage is free to continue her journey. We discard this card, okay, and then we just move again. We move the Light Mage north to hex 3 and explore the hex again. So from here, the Light Mage moves here and we explore the hex and flip it. Okay. Again, we need to draw an exploration card. We take the top card from the exploration deck. We read the card's effects and follow the instruction. Okay, this one is an action card. Take an action card from the deck and resolve it. So this was the result of this exploration. We take the card from the action deck but do not reveal it fully yet. Since this is a solo game, the outcomes are hidden. So we flip the card over and cover the outcomes with our hands. So let me show you how this would look. I'm taking the first card from the action deck, I flip it over, I cover my hand, the results, and I just read the top of the top portion of the card. Okay, so the action card Blinding Suns says, the relentless desert sun reflects off the suns, creating a dazzling, almost blinding light. The heat shimmer makes it hard to tell what's real and what's an illusion. You notice a faint glimmer beneath the sand. Is it real? Option 1. Dig through the scorching suns to uncover the glimmer. Option 2. Shield your eyes and press on, ignoring the mirage. So for this tutorial, let's say we selected option 1. And now we slide our hand down and reveal the corresponding outcome. Because if you reveal now the outcome, you're just going to read the respective section of the outcome 1. After digging through the hot sand, you find a small legendary artifact. You feel it's warm, pulse into your hand, search the loot item deck for an epic artifact, a valuable item that can be sold. Okay? So we are going to take the loot from the loot deck. Okay, we locate the loot item deck next to typically the wandering merchant. Okay, I'm just going to have too many things here, so this needs to be here. So you have the wandering merchant next to the loot deck. Okay, and we're going to take the deck and we're going to search for and remove one epic artifact card. And since this item cannot be equipped, which the tutorial indicates that this is, let me show you. There are several loot items, okay, and there is a lot of content in this game, so a lot of things to be explored. So let me take this is the, let's say, draw, okay, and then this is an item that we got from the loot deck. And since this item cannot be equipped, as it displays no armor class in the bottom right corner, we just place it inside the backpack. Okay, so there is no armor class, that means it goes here, inside the backpack. Right. We take the card and place it typically underneath the backpack, okay, because you can have various things there, so it just stays under our backpack. Then we have the mini boss roaming. The action card displays 2 boss dice, as you can see again on the top right corner. Okay, that means that for this tutorial we assume the boss dice roll was a 5 and a 1, directing the mini boss to move to hex 10, then 11. Upon entering each hex, the mini boss leaves an encounter token, so since hex 11 already contains a token, because he moves first to 11, and there's already a token there, no additional token will be added. Okay, sorry, a second token will be added, so we take one more, and we add it there, and then it moves to hex 10, and similarly it places one more. Sorry, first he moves to 10 and then he moves to 11. Yeah, so he first moves to 10, just places one there, and then he moves to 11 and places a second there. Right, then we go move and explore. So we move the light mage southeast to hex 4. That means we go here on this hex. We take again the top card from the exploration deck, and this one says trash mob. Summon 2 trash mobs to battle. Okay, just to show you different type of exploration card. Right. So, let's see how we adjust the master deck. Some trash mob battle has been triggered and the passive master deck needs to be updated. So we roll the master attribute die, which is this one. Okay. Let me show you again up close. So we roll this die, and based on the result, if there is an aggressive, showing this icon, we shuffle one aggressive card into the passive deck. So this is the passive deck and it gets cards from here. So if an aggressive was rolled, we take one card from there and shuffle it in there. If it was a defensive, we take one card from the defensive deck and we shuffle it in here. For the purpose of this tutorial, we assume that the die result was aggressive. Typically, the top card would be taken from the aggressive deck and shuffled into the passive deck. However, for the purpose of this tutorial, we just take the card from the top of the aggressive deck and place it at the bottom of the passive. Okay, so it just goes, let's say, at the bottom, so we don't have to draw it. Okay, just for the purpose of this tutorial, but normally we would shuffle it in there. Aggressive and defensive cards increase the strength of the passive deck to help balance out a hero's progress throughout the campaign. Okay. Then we summon 2 trash mobs. Since combat has been occurred on hex 4 of the light scenario, we open the light scenario combat map binder and flick it through the first few pages until we find the map for hex 4. What that means, we just go here, because again, we're here on the explored, I forgot to flip it, hex number 4. So we need to go here and find hex number 4, that's number 2, number 3, and number 4. Okay, so we're here. And you can see, just to give you a bit of a very nice thematic link, this is number 3, and you see it has the island in the center and the lake around it. Here it has this specific format over the large binder. So it's like we zoom in here for the tactical part. Right, so we take the hex 4 page, we locate the trash mob deck, and we draw the top 2 cards and place them near the light scenario combat map binder, or on a villain playmat if you own one. Then we proceed with trash mobs setup. Let's see what we have. We have a light spirit and we have a solar drake. Okay, these are the ones that it was instructed from the tutorial to be the top 2 cards there. Just for you to know, it's scripted, but it really helps you for you to understand the game. So we draw the 2 cards and place them near the light scenario combat map, and then we place the solar drake card to the left of the light spirit card. This is because the solar drake has more agility and it helps resolve trash mob attacks, since they will attack from left to right, from highest to lowest AGI first. Okay, so again, solar drake card is going to go on the left, like that. Okay, again, they're not going to be here for the sake of saving space. I have none. I'm just placing it here. Okay, just let me see if it is visible. I don't know if it's clear, but let me just show you how they look like up close. These are the 2 trash mobs that I revealed. Okay, let's place them here for the moment. Right. Then next thing that we do is we take 2 token tracker cards and place them next to each newly summoned trash mob, and we align each token tracker card with the bronze bar located on the right edge of the trash mob's card. That means we will take 1 card again, just to show you, like that. Sorry, like that, aligning here, and the other one would be like that. So if we make a full sequence somewhere, let me do it here, that would be this with the token tracker card next to it, followed by the light spirit. It has agility 3 and this has agility 9. That's why the solar drake goes first, followed by the token tracker, like that. Okay, this is going to be somewhere close to the binder, just for ease of use. Then we locate the villain player's dice bag. This is the red bag here, and we remove the handful of cooldown dice and 4 D10 HP, which also we have additional ones here. Okay, so these are normally set up during putting the game together. So we place the 2d10 at the top of each trash mob to represent its health point. I'm not going to do it now, but okay, you can see here this has 18 health point, the light spirit, and this one has 20, the solar drake. So we take 2 dice again to put above each of those cards to indicate their health points. We locate the solar drake and light spirit turn order tokens from the scenario token tray. Okay, we have respective tokens and we're going to place them there, indicating the respective agility, so there is a full sequence. And we also locate one solar drake and one light spirit standee from the cardboard. So this is a solar drake, and there must be some other light spirit. Or do I have it here? No. So this is the solar drake, and somewhere beneath. This is one of the things I'm not particularly fond of, to be honest. You cannot really take this standees easily from. There is not a lot of maneuver space. That's what I'm trying to say. For this, okay, so anyway, you have 1 plus 1, okay, there you go. So we take the standees, we place them on bases, obviously. Again, I'm placing everything flat here for obvious reasons. And we place them attached to the base and place them next to the respective cards. Okay, so we're going to have here the solar drake and here the light spirit. Then we proceed with combat map setup. We deploy our heroes. The combat map features 5 green numbered circles. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which represents spawn points for the party. Heroes will spawn on points based on the turn order card. Since light mage is higher up on the turn order from the war drummer, they will spawn first. We take the light mage standee from hex and from hex 4 and place it on the combat map spawn point 1. So she will appear here. Okay. And then we place the war drummer standee on spawn point 2. So the war drummer is going to be here. We deploy our enemies. The combat features 5 white numbered circles, so this represents spawn points for the enemies. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Enemies will spawn on points based on turn order. Since the solar drake is higher on the turn order, they will spawn first, so we place the solar drake standee on spawn point 1, which is here. And the light spirit is going to spawn on the white number 2, which is here. Again, everything is flat, but everything is going to be on standees, on bases, looking towards me. Okay, the reason I'm having them flat is just for you to see from the camera, which is set directly above my table. Right. So, round tracking die. In the top right corner of the combat die, you'll see a label that says hex 4 here. Just beneath the map's flavor text, which is here, and you can read it, there is a spot where you locate the combat map D10 and place it in the slot. I'm not sure which one is the combat one, but I have been using, to be honest, this one for the purpose of this. Okay. I suppose this is one upgraded in this prototype. Okay, this is what I've been using. Right. So once this is done, we place it into the black box, setting it to value 1, indicating that we start with a round 1 of here. Now, resource drops. In the top left corner of the combat map, you'll find resource timeline, which is a list of resource that spawns at the beginning of specific rounds. Because the combat map die is set to 1, we can immediately apply its effect listed under round 1. In this case, we see that the protection condition spawns on all orange hexes. The protection condition lasts 2 turns, and on combat map we can see only 1 orange hex, and it's currently occupied by the light mage. This is, you see, the orange border. So we apply the condition. Since the light mage is standing on the spawning hex, they immediately receive the protection condition. So we locate the protection condition from the token tray and place it on a 2-turn column in the temporary conditions row on the light mage hero board, respectively. This is similarly like with the conditions we've seen in the arena mode. Okay, so we take it and we place it on the temporary buffs on column 2. Okay, this was granted from this spot here. Then once we've done that, we proceed. In the bottom right corner of the combat map there is a key. This is described here, which provides players with information on various hexes found throughout the map. Some of these hexes require small setup. In this tutorial, the solar altar hex has such setup requirement, okay, which can be read in the solar altar key here. Which means that in this particular case, this tutorial has 2 heroes, the light mage and the war drummer. We place 2 yellow cubes from the scenario token on the solar altar hex. That means 2 cubes will go there. And you want these cubes, trust me. Right. Then, the next step is that we proceed with the round 1. So for the round 1 we have the solar drake. It starts first because I didn't manage to get their but I don't want to waste time now, so I'm just going to take 2 random ones. Okay, let me look for them. It should be somewhere here. Okay, found them. There they are. Right. Just that you need to have them a bit organized. So the solar drake has agility of 8, so they start here. Okay, this is 8, this is 7, and this is 3. War drummer and the light spirit. So starting with the solar drake, because they have an agility of 8, they take the first turn. Okay. No cooldown dice is currently on solar drake, so the dice upkeep is skipped. The same goes for the token upkeep, which is before that, because there is no token upkeep. We proceed to movement upkeep. We draw 1 card from the boss movement deck, place it face up above the solar drake card. So from the boss, the red ones, we draw 1 and place it above the solar drake card, meaning there. All this again is going to be somewhere close, okay, but I have no more space on my table. So we place it face up above the solar drake card, and the movement effects will trigger on the first spell the solar drake casts this turn, and this will last until the end of the turn. So we proceed then with the main phase. During the main phase, trash mobs cast spells to attack their enemies. Since the solar drake only has 1 spell, and this is again described here, the flare beam. Okay. In a similar fashion, like the spells we have on our player boards, they will focus on that. The solar drake will cast the fire beam, which targets up to 3 enemies, because it has 3 red sticks. In this case, the Light Mage and the War Drummer. So cooldown CD0, bottom right corner of the spell, meaning that the Solar Drake has to wait 0 turns to cast the spell again. Practically that means that they don't place any cooldown die on it. Flare Beams deals 5 damage and also has a plus int attack modifier, meaning that the Solar Drake int stat will get added to the attack. Okay, int stands for intellect, I remind you. Okay, so in this case it will be 5 plus 8 for a total of 13. We have the combat map modifier. Since this is a melee attack, the bottom left corner of the spell shows the sword, and the Solar Drake is more than 3 hexes away from both targets. We apply a -1 damage penalty for the damage multiplier section on the combat map, bottom left corner. The final damage would be 12. Damage resolution, which is the main phase. The Light Mage defending. The Light Mage has a defense stat of 5. Meaning the Light Mage can absorb 5 of damage, remaining damage is 12 minus 5, 7 total damage. We have the protection token. The Light Mage currently has a protection token, I remind you, here, as above. Condition which reduces damage by 50%, so 50% of 7 is 3.5, round up is 4, meaning 4 damage will be negated by the protection condition. Final damage taken is therefore 3 damage. We remove 3, so 44 minus 3 means 41. I know I have both the dial and the dice, and you don't need to have both, but you know, anyway, because I want to show you both. You just have one, obviously. Right, then the War Drummer, defending. The War Drummer has a defense stat of 6, and you can find this here, defense 6, okay? That means that the Light Mage can absorb, the War Drummer can absorb 6 of damage, and the remaining damage is 12 minus 6, 6 damage, so the final is 6 total, and we update the HP dice on the top of the ally card, so that means 40 minus 6 for a total of 34. So this is adjusted so that it shows the 6 damage taken. Okay, like that. After the damage resolved, the Solar Drake gains the taunt condition for 3 turns. Therefore, we need to place the taunt condition token on the token tracking card adjacent to the Solar Drake in the 3-turn column on the condition row, and taunt grants the Solar Drake 4 HP, but since they are at max HP, they cannot gain any further HP. Taunt also grants the receiving player the option to pull an enemy 1 hex closer to them. However, for the purpose of this tutorial, we'll just always choose not to use the pull effect. Okay, but they will gain the taunt condition, which again, if you would focus on the Solar Drake, you know, this will be the condition. You see here we have strength, intellect, agility, defense, and HP, and here's the condition. Okay, so this will be here 1, 2, 3, and this is permanent. Okay, this is permanent. This is 1, 2, 3. So it will take in the condition row the taunt effect for 3 turns. Okay, again, this work in a similar way like we've seen in the arena mode for the conditions and the buffs in a similar way. Okay, right. So we have the post-spell movement, which is the main phase. According to the movement card drawn earlier, the Solar Drake may move 2 hexes after casting a spell. That means, in this case, you can see the movement card, it's here. It shows the value 2. You may move up to 2 hexes after you resolve a spell. Okay? And this was the movement card drawn for the Solar Drake. Therefore, I will move the Solar Drake standee 2 hexes directly south on the combat map. From here, they move 1, 2, and they come here. Right. The end phase, we discard movement card and then flip the Solar Drake's turn order token to the red X to indicate that its turn is completed. So the movement card is discarded, and the Solar Drake flips to X to show that they have played. Okay, and now we proceed with the next in turn, which directly below is the Light Mage. Now we move all temporary buff conditions one column to the left on the hero board. The protection condition, currently showing 2 turns remaining, now shifts one column to the 1 turn remaining, so this goes here. Again, this is a permanent buff, so it doesn't modify the +1 defense. Then we move to, that was a token upkeep. We move to the dice upkeep, so we don't have any cooldowns dice that they were going to be reduced on the Light Mage like we've seen in the arena mode. Then we have the movement upkeep. Normally hero would draw 3 movement cards and select 1. Okay, so from the hero movement deck they will draw 3 cards and select 1. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to take the top one. Okay. This card here, drawn from the hero, shows 2 hexes of movement as a spell is cast, 2 hexes of movement after the spell fully resolves. That's why you see 2 different numbers. Okay? So I'm just placing it here for the moment. Movement is shown as white hex icon with a number inside. The number represents the amount of hexes a character can move. Icon to the left is you move as you cast, and icon to the right is you move after the spell resolves. I'm saying left and right because you'll see some cards that just have only to the left or only to the right, not at both left and right. Hero upkeep. The Light Mage hero ability Transcendence allows here to transform into the angelic form, and this is described here. Have at least 4 cooldown dice present, transform into your angel form. Back again. Right. You must have at least 4 cooldown dice present on your hero board and or spell mastery to use the angelic form. So, allows her to transform into her angelic form. However, this ability requires at least 4 cooldown dice, therefore she just skips it. If she had 4 cooldown dice on her player board, she would be able to use it and transform into her angel form, which is very, very specific to Light Mage, and I really love it. It's so symmetrical, the heroes, I mean, amazing. Not only on stats, not only a way of playing, of cast, of classes, of armor class, it's amazing. This is phenomenal. Okay, so then the main phase. Line of sight check. The Light Mage does not have line of sight to any trash mobs, okay? Meaning she's here, and you see the white border, okay? So she will these are the terrain boundaries, so you can see on the bottom right the terrain boundaries here explain that heroes may not cross a terrain boundary line while moving. Heroes may not target allies or enemies if their line of sight to the target would cross a terrain. If from here to here it would cross a white boundary line, imagine it is a limit or a scenery limit or whatever, it cannot cross, therefore it does not have line of sight. Therefore she may not target any enemies. So casting a Gratitude. Since the Light Mage can target any enemies, she chooses to cast Gratitude, a support spell, and upon casting you place a cooldown die with a value of 3 on her spell, because 3 is shown on the bottom right of the casting Gratitude, on the Gratitude spell, which is here. So she takes a value 3 and places it here as a cooldown die. Pre-spell movement phase. According to the movement card drawn earlier, she has 2 move hexes that she can move as she casts the spell. This movement is triggered at the moment the cooldown die is placed on the spell, which marks the official start of casting, and we move the Light Mage 2 hexes east. Okay, so she moves 1 and 1, 2 here, and after doing so, we proceed with the main phase. We continue on with the main phase, and the Light Mage announces the target of the Gratitude spell. So she targets up to one ally, a green stick. In this instance, the Light Mage would target herself. You can always consider yourself as your own ally. I mean, you can always target any spell or ability that uses the green stick for yourself. So the spell effects say that the target receives the Enlightened condition. You can see it here with the icon below the green stick. That means we find the token in the token tray, the Enlightenment condition, and we place it on the semi-permanent condition row of the Light Mage. Again, let me get it from the tray, which is this one, and we place it on the permanent conditions here. Okay? Right. Then, post-spell movement. According to the movement card we drawn earlier, the Light Mage may also move 2 hexes after they fully resolve the casting spell. This movement is triggered now since the spell effects have been fully resolved, which marks the end of casting. You move the Light Mage Sandy 2 hexes northeast, ending your turn on the turquoise spot. So she moves 1, 2 here. The end phase occurs, which you discard the movement card. Okay, and then you flip your order token. Following that, we would proceed to the War Drummer, then to the Light Spirit. Okay, this is a very, very simple demonstration on how you work with the Light tutorial. The Light tutorial, the scenario tutorial, the scenario goes on for several more rounds, which script exactly what you need to do to follow the next steps. I've been very detailed. I've tried to show you a bit of everything in terms of the rules, but there are many more things to discover, and I'm just going to finish with showing you a bit of again, this is from the main previous rulebook, not the Light and Shadow, but just to show you the anatomy. You have your equipment board where you find loot which has armor classes and you equip it, so you have things like armor and stuff that gives you added abilities. Then you have the boss battles, which, as you can see, they have a similar pattern like yours, and they also cast spells and have abilities, and they can take buffs and statuses. You have boss modifications, you have the elemental board, you have your ally cards, and then you also can save the game and continue at any given time later on, not to mention the additional way of playing the game. The last thing I want to show you, specifically to the Light scenario, because this is what we focused here. Here the boards, you remember the bosses that we set up in the main map. Here's the Ethereal Pegasus, just to show you their board. Here's the Prism Breaker. Here's the Sunfire Serpent. And here are the mini bosses. The Wandering mini boss, the Prismatic Lion. And you can also have Prism Breaker fragments, respectively. So you can really now get a very nice and deep understanding on how everything works in Heroes of the Shire, Light and Shadow. The game has so many going on. You can play it as an arena mode, you can play it as a scenario mode. You've seen the mechanics of the scenario. This is just a scratch on the surface, okay? You see there is a lot of choices, a lot of tactical options, a lot of exploration, a lot of very nice asymmetry. I mean, we haven't even shown how you transform to the angel form and take a separate form with a separate agility and turn order token and so on. So there you have it. This is everything you need to know on the general concepts of Heroes of the Shire. So there you have it. This is Heroes of the Shire, Light and Shadow. I have to admit, for me, I have played a lot of campaign games, I've played a lot of fantasy games, I've played a lot of games that, you know, you have this big exploration and then you zoom in for a more tactical style combat. This game feels very, very different. And there are many things that I want to highlight it. Overall, my impression is very, very positive. I had a great time, and I can't wait to find out more and dive more into the world that they have created, into the mechanics, and explore more also the shadow scenario, because I focused on the light scenario with the time I had with this prototype so far. What I'm trying to say is this game feels very, very different, and I'm saying this in a very positive way, because at least for me, I want something different from my games, because I have too many games that they are similar or feel similar, and this feels very, very unique. And let me tell you why do I think that. This game has a lot of clever ideas for casting spells. Okay, typically when we cast spells in games before, at least the ones I played before, you just play cards and you do what the card tells you, etc. Here you have your spells on your board, so everything is at your disposal. You can unlock more spells with your spell mastery, okay, which is a portion that you grown into, you develop and gain more abilities and more spells. But the big core of the spells are already available to you. There are many more to be added. And as you level up, okay, you don't have access to everything, of course, at the beginning. But the ideas they have there, for example, with the cooldown dice, is amazing. At the beginning, it may seem a bit fiddle or having too many dice on your player board, but it really, really works. I mean, they're tiny dice, you just place at the bottom of your box for the specific spell, and this is a cooldown. In an essence, this for me simulates a video game, because when you charge a very powerful, when you cast a very powerful spell, you cannot keep, bombarding your opponents with the same spell all the time. You need to take time to, recharge. And this game captures this really, really nicely, because all these cooldown dice, what they do is, they just go down, 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 and when they're out, you can again cast a spell. It's a very simple, very easy to use, and very practical and thematic way to emulate casting spells. Okay, that's one portion that I really like. The second portion that I really liked is the two modes. I love having more than one ways to play a game, and this is really more than one ways to play the game. The arena mode is very, very nice. It's fast forward, you just focus on the combat, you just battle your opponent, fast turns between each other, and you have a nice back and forth, and you learn the core mechanics of the casting spells and using your the conditions of the buffs, debuffs, etc., and how to affect your opponent to play cunningly and cleverly. The second mode, the scenario mode, is wow. And this is when you want to invest more time, of course, because it takes more time, but it's such a full experience. It has a great story, it has a lot of exploration, it has a lot of clever representation, because the actual hex setup of the scenario, at least for the light scenario that I played, the light scenario, not the shadow, but it works in the same way. It has a very nice, move around. The bosses move around. You have wandering bosses. You have trash mobs. You have different things going on. You have an exit you need to reach out. You have different things to do depending on, the scenario, obviously. But all this can be a very, very different experience, even if you play the light scenario. What do I mean? If I play again, back to back, the game, if I play it again the next week or the next week, it will feel completely different. Not just because I changed my, hero, with the same hero, just the way it will play out. It will be just completely different idea and experience. But what I really liked is moving from the exploration map, drawing exploration cards, making choices, zooming in like to the tactical board on the binder, and doing the really clever tactical combat, because their movement is introduced, because you don't have movement in the arena mode. You just get the movement when you are on the binders in the scenario mode, and they're really, really clever and well designed. So overall, I would say that at least the time I had with the game was fantastic. I can't wait to explore more. I'm really, really positively surprised from the uniqueness of the game. It feels thematic, it's very clever, it's tactical, it's full strategic. I can now see and understand why they have such a huge community on Discord with a lot of people involved, why everybody says good things about at least the first installment of the game, which is standalone, and I'm sure you can combine it. I haven't checked, to be honest, if you have both the first and the second, but then at least the heroes, I'm sure you can combine them. I don't see any reason not to. It's really such a great system. So I hope I gave you a good overview of how the game plays. If you haven't heard about it, you're missing out. I was missing out, and I'm really happy to discover this game and this universe, because first of all, it's very unique. It has a lot to offer. It has great value, a lot of replayability, and 2 fantastic game modes that really differ from each other. Fast, quick combats with the arena mode, full-fledged experience with scenario mode, which gives you 2, I would say, ways of enjoying this great system. So many thanks for watching. Do visit the link at the description of the video to find out more about the campaign, and hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next time, many thanks for watching.